Welcome back. Today I'm doing Kattis problem R2. So the storyline is the number s is called the mean of two numbers, r1 and r2, if s is equal to r1 plus r2 over 2. Mirko's birthday present for Slavko was two integers r1 and r2. Slavko promptly calculated their mean, which also happened to be an integer, but then lost r2. Help Slavko restore r2. So the first thing I want to do is define my variables r1 and s. Those are the inputs we'll be given, and they're both going to be integer data types, and using the input function in Python, then I'm going to create a formula for r2. So we get that just by algebraically manipulating the average formula and moving everything but r2 over to the right hand side, and then print r2. I'm just going to test it out using the sample inputs 11 and 15 and 4 and 3. Then I'm just going to copy and paste my code into the Kattis editor and make sure I delete the prompts for user input. And I'm getting a runtime error, so we need to go back and see how the input is given, because it looks like I've got a problem with how I'm accepting the input. Okay, so I went back and changed it. It looks like the input was given in a single line, so I had to use the line equals input and then break that down into the two variables that we wanted to use. So that answer was accepted, and that's just a learning experience for double check how your input is provided. Okay, so now I'm ready to code in C++. Same problem. So I'm going to go to my online compiler and add my line that says using namespace standard, semicolon, int main. Why do we use int main versus anything else like void main or whatever other type you could put there before main? Because C++ uses the mechanism basically where at the bottom there you see it says return 0. This has nothing to do with this problem. It's just something I was curious about and looked up. And if you're new to C++, you probably are wondering this. So it's int for integer type main because the data type returned by main is an integer, and it's just a way for the programmer to signal that the main function is complete by outputting a small value integer. So it's always going to return 0. I mean, unless it doesn't. I guess you could make it return something other than 0, but the point is the return 0 at the end of the program has nothing to do with the logic inside the actual program. So anyway, the actual program was the same, just using different syntax for cout, cin, and yeah, so that was pretty straightforward. Now I'm going to go to Java and do the same problem. So we've got our class. I'm going to change the class name to R2 so it matches the Kattis Java file name. Add some lines to insert my actual code. And what do we need to add for reading in data or user input? We've got to use scanner, so I'm going to add that in a second. And go to my W3 Schools Java tutorial, since Java is still one of my weak points and I need frequent refreshers. So let's go look at user input. There we go. I'm going to need the import Java util scanner line at the top. So we've got to import the scanner class. I've got a lowercase there, which I'll run into an error later and capitalize it, but it does need to be capitalized. And then we create an object using the scanner class inside the main class. So in the example they used my object, but you can name this anything relevant to the problem. So I'm going to change this from scanner my object to scanner numbers, since I'm reading in numbers. Again, I'm making an error here in how I type it, which I'll figure out in just a second when I get an error. It should be new scanner system.in, not scanner new. So you can learn from the mistakes I'm making. This is a learning experience, but I think a lot of times you learn more from seeing how people make mistakes, and then your brain almost registers more, oh, that's why I'm not supposed to do it that way. Okay, so then I'm going to have R1, my first integer I defined above, as numbers.nextInt. So I'm reading in the next value. It's from scanner object numbers. And then S is the second number. Alright, so in the next screen, I've already corrected my errors with capitalizing the scanner from import Java util scanner and switching the new and scanner in the syntax for the object, the scanner object. And now I'm just testing it out to make sure the sample input gives the sample output. Alright, there we go. So entering 4 and 3 and outputs 2. Looks like it's working. So I'm just going to copy this, go back to Kattis and paste in the code. Make sure my main class, file, and class all match and submit. And looks like it's working. So that was the R2 problem in Kattis in Python 3, C++, and Java. So my next video, I'm going to be doing the next problem in sequence as far as easiest difficulty. So that'll be the quadrant selection problem. I'll see you in the next one.